So today we're going to look at proofs that require some different definitions, like definition of a right angle a little bit more heavily, definition of complementary, supplementary, vertical angles, all that good stuff. We're going to see a little bit more of that with our notes today. So the first two proofs we're going to go over together. The third and fourth one are actually similar to ones that we've already done. So we're going to do a little bit of group work and checking it with those, and then we'll move along to the homework, which I'm going to modify a little bit to make it not quite as difficult. So you're welcome. Here we go. First one. We're given ABE is a right angle. So we've got that already listed out in our proof here. What's the reason for that? Given. And then let's label in the diagram what that means. Here's ABE. It's a right angle, so that means this is 90 right here. Okay. And then the last step, angle 4 is complementary to angle 2. That's the thing that we were trying to prove up here at the top. So we're good there. Now we know where we're going. Let's figure out how to get there. We have angle ABE is equal to 90 degrees. Any idea why that might be? Definition of a right angle, yes. Perfect. Yeah, so anytime you see like a vocab word like right angle or bisect or midpoint or something like that, it's a very good chance that your next reason is going to be definition of that thing. Also, we only know that it's equal to 90 because we were told it's a right angle. Okay, so now we're asked to use the angle addition postulate. So, looking at our diagram here, we've got angle ABE, and we have some angles that would add to equal that. So there's a good chance that those are the ones we're going to want to use. What do you think?
Measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2 equals 90.
Close. Equals angle ABE first, but then we will be going in that direction, getting it equal to 90. That would just kind of be combining two steps. Yeah.
It would be angle ABD plus DB is equal to ABE.
You could also do it that way, but since you're given abbreviations like angle 1 and angle 2, I like to save space and just write it as angle 1 plus angle 2 equals angle ABE. In step 4, though, that's where we're going with what you guys said. We're going to go angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90.
Is that substitution?
It is, because, yeah, we're just taking out angle ABE and substituting in 90 instead. See, you guys got this. All right, for the next one, what vertical angles do we see in the picture?
Or 4 and 9.
4 and what? 1. 4 and 1 are vertical angles. Remember when we've got that crossing lines? I know there's a lot going on in this picture, but if you look at this crossing line with this one, we see angles 1 and 4 are directly across from each other, made by those same pair of crossing lines. This is the only set of vertical angles in this picture. So that would mean that angle 1 is congruent to angle 4 by the vertical angles theorem. Okay. But then we do need angle 1 to equal angle 4 for step 6 because we need to be able to plug it into equations and things like that. So now we need measure of angle 1 is equal to measure of angle 4. And what is it that tells us we can go from congruent to equal, Shauna? Definition of congruent. Okay. And so remember, our entire goal here was to show that 4 and 2 are complementary to one another. So that means that angle 4 and angle 2, we want those to add to 90. So what could I do with this equation? We have angle 1 and angle 2 equals 90. What can I do here to get angle 4 and angle 2 to equal 90? What do you think, Shauna? Yeah, replace angle 1 with angle 4. I can do that because we just said that they were equal to each other. So now I can go measure of angle 4 plus measure of angle 2 equals 90. And that is substitution. We're just taking angle 4, replacing angle 1. And now we have that angle 4 is a complement to angle 2. Any idea why that would be? Is there a definition we can use? Yeah. Not addition. What do you think, Alex?
Transitive?
Not transitive. Tavia, what do we got? Definition of complementary. Yeah. So this one, when two angles add to 90, that is definition of complementary. It's right up here. It's also on our list of possible definitions and theorems and things like that. But if two angles add to 90, then they are complementary. So in this case, just definition of complementary. All right. So look over this proof. Go back through the steps on your own real quick. Think about how they follow from one another. Is there any that we don't quite understand why they're there? Look it over. Think about it. Yeah.
So when we go from vertical angles to definition of congruent, why do we need to make it an equal?
Because technically the vertical angles theorem says that they're congruent to each other. And we need them to be equal because we're working with equations. And so we need to know that their measures are equal to each other. So that when I plug in, like here in this equation, we have measure of angle 1. I need to have measure of angle 1 equal to measure of angle 4. So I can plug in measure of angle 4 here. Yeah. It's kind of a technicality. And sometimes you'll see proofs that skip that step. But to be the most specific and accurate, you need to have that step. Good question. All right. Anything else we see that we're not 100% sure why it is there or what's going on? Okay. Let's try the next one together. The next one is completely blank, so we're going to fill this one in its entirety. So, first thing, fill in your given and the thing that you're trying to prove as the first step and the last step. Oh, and also on this proof, I forgot, there is something we need to change. This is supposed to say angle 4, not angle 3. I was looking at it and going, gosh, that doesn't make any sense. That's right. So we need to change this to a 4, not angle 3. Which will make a whole lot more sense when we go through the proof. Or visually it will anyhow. Okay, so now hopefully we have filled in our first statement and reason, and then our last statement. So looking at our picture, we have angle 2 is supplementary to angle 4. And we want to be able to say that angle 5 is also supplementary to angle 4. Okay. So kind of making connections and things like that to start with. What do we notice is the relationship between angle 2 and 5? Javier? They're vertical angles, so they are congruent to each other. So hopefully if 2 is supplementary to 4, then 5 would also be supplementary to 4 since 5 and 2 are the same. So that's kind of where we are headed in this proof. So let's get started here. If angle 2 is supplementary to angle 4, what do we know about those two? What do they add to? Yeah, 180. So I can go measure of angle 2 plus measure of angle 4 equals 180. And why would that be? Definition of supplementary. Yeah. So anytime you get through saying something is supplementary and you make a conclusion based off of that, definition of supplementary. All right. If you can't fit it all in the box, that's okay. We do our best. All right. Step 3 is probably where we want to start calling out our vertical angles here. So we know these are supplementary. Now we also need to go angle 2 is congruent to angle 5. And for that, you can say vertical angles theorem. You can say vertical angles are congruent. Anything like that works. All right. So just like in the proof before this one, remember when we had our vertical angles theorem step, we had our congruent and then we went to equal. We got to do the same thing here. So we go from congruent to their measures are equal because we want to be able to use them in an equation. And what was our reason for that? Yeah. Definition of congruent. Awesome. And now our last thing, we want angle 5 to be supplementary to angle 4, right? So what do I need to do in this equation to make it so that 5 and 4 are supplementary instead, Olivia?
Replace angle 2 with angle 4.
Right, replace angle 2 with angle 5. Because we know those are equal to each other now, so we swap them out. That is substitution, exactly. And then finally, now that we know that angle 5 and angle 4 add to 180, we can say that they are supplementary. What would my reason be for that? What do you think?
Definition of supplementary.
Definition of supplementary. Yep, exactly. Awesome. All right, once you have that, go ahead and turn the page. All right, and so for this next one, this is one that we have done before. It uses the definition of midpoint as a table group. So in your group of 4, if you're in a group of 4, or let's see, in the front row we'll have you 2 work together and you 3 work together, and then in the back we'll have you 3 work together. Try to do number 3 on your own. Fill in everything that you can. And then when you think you have it, raise your hand and I will come over and check it. And if you need a hint, let me know. I'll be coming around.